Thanks to everyone for tuning in today. My name is Anneliese Austin and I'm an early career researcher and PhD candidate from Bees for Sustainable Livelihoods at Southern Cross University. Today I will be presenting my honours research on the barriers to women's engagement in beekeeping in Papua New Guinea. This research is part of an ongoing Australian Centre for International Agricultural Research project to support productive, sustainable and inclusive honeybee sectors in Papua New Guinea and Fiji. Agriculture supports the livelihoods of a large majority of the rural Papua New Guineans. In rural areas, traditional community structures remain largely functional, and so despite ongoing modernisation in parts of Papua New Guinea, culture remains a significant part of life. This strong cultural influence defines gender roles and dictates the behaviour of men and women, both within their intimate relationships, but also how they relate within their wider community as well. These gender roles and constraints, which often marginalise women, transcend into agricultural production in Papua New Guinea. And so you typically see women involved in the marketing of fresh produce and flowers, and also small livestock such as chicken, whereas men typically control any cash crops, which include coffee and cocoa. So they're very much commodity crops in Papua New Guinea, and so it's very much aligned with quite strong, highly defined gender roles. So why is this an issue? It's quite critical to ensure that any agricultural initiatives promoted in Papua New Guinea engage women as well as men, so that the benefits of increased household income are shared more equally, and really reach all members of the family unit. So the challenge is really to work with men to achieve this, so that equity isn't perceived as a threat, but more of an opportunity for improved resilience for the whole family, but also an opportunity to engage all of the stakeholders which are involved in the beekeeping sector currently. So there really are several key reasons why beekeeping is an activity which may provide opportunities for women in Papua New Guinea. Firstly, and really most importantly, I need to highlight that there are already women who are participating in beekeeping in PNG, and there are a few of them that are quite successful, and that's despite the inequalities that they have faced within the sector and some of those challenges which have been identified through this research. So beekeeping is not a new activity for women, and there doesn't appear to be particularly strong gender roles aligned with beekeeping in Papua New Guinea. What the issue has been is that previous development initiatives involving beekeeping in Papua New Guinea have excluded women. So really that's reduced women's uptaking of beekeeping as an activity, but it's also reduced their visibility within the beekeeping value chain. So from the image you can see there are a few, these are just a few of the benefits really. For me, one of the most important benefits is the time allocated to beekeeping versus the income potential. And really, you don't have to invest a lot of your time into beekeeping in order for it to be a productive, small enterprise. And this is important for culturally in Papua New Guinea, because what we do know from the work that has been done there is that women in PNG are typically very time poor. And so to ask them to adopt a new activity into their lives is quite a significant challenge for them. So the purpose of this research was to identify the barriers to women's engagement in beekeeping and also in beekeeping training in the Eastern Highlands province. There is very limited literature on women's engagement in beekeeping for development initiatives, which really outline solutions to some of the common barriers women face when engaging in the beekeeping value chain. So it was really important to understand what the barriers are that women face and also what solutions they think might be helpful to engage more women in beekeeping. And really that's applicable in Papua New Guinea, but it's also applicable to aid agencies and donors all around the world who are looking at beekeeping as an initiative which may support rural livelihoods. So how do we go about this? Basically, the aim was to interview and engage as many people involved in the wider beekeeping sector around Goroka. We were able to reach a really good cross-section of participants from government organisations, such as the Department of Agriculture and Livestock, NGOs, including CARE and Oxfam, who both had active beekeeping livelihood programs at the time we were there. We interviewed beekeepers, beekeeping trainers, private enterprise, church groups, representatives from village cooperatives, so quite a cross-section of the community. In total, we engaged 44 participants, and 27 of those were women. We held 2 focus group discussions with teams from the CARE and Oxfam, and a workshop for women beekeepers, which was supported by the Eastern Highlands Beekeeping Association and the Department of Agriculture and Livestock. So it's a bit of a messy board, but this is one of the boards from our beekeeper workshop. And really the idea is that these workshops are participatory, they're engaging, but they're also purposeful in what they're trying to achieve. And it can be really challenging to utilise participatory action research processes in that way. But as you can see here, it is quite empowering as you see the women linking up the challenges they face, sort of identifying solutions, and really collaborating on the issues which impact them. So it can be quite a powerful exercise. So to take one example from the board here, if we take the location of training, this was linked to several factors, and that include the cost of attending training, having to receive permission from your spouse, being away from home because of the obligations women have to look after the home in Papua New Guinea. So the board did get pretty busy during the activity, but it really did provide a more robust understanding with how the general challenges that women face every day in Papua New Guinea influence their capacity to participate in beekeeping, but also to achieve their goals and aspirations, both within their professional lives or in beekeeping, but also in their personal lives as well. So this is a bit more of a traditional data representation. This pie chart represents the combined results from all of the interviews and activities which we conducted as part of the research in Papua New Guinea. So there are really 3 overarching barriers which influence women's capacity to engage in beekeeping, and they include cultural barriers, a general lack of awareness about beekeeping, and also the cost of inputs was perceived to be quite high. So of the cultural barriers, really the key cultural barrier that was mentioned was gaining support of the husband. And the reason this was significant was actually in relation to the costs associated with starting beekeeping. So you would hear women say something along the lines of, I would like to ask my husband, or I would have to ask my husband permission to use household income to invest in beekeeping because it is so much money. And really that is irregardless of whether a woman is bringing in income into the home. So that applies to market mamas who sell fresh produce in the market, but that can also apply to women who are working and actually bringing substantial cash income into the family home as well. So these 2 statements here really relate to the second limitation, which was identified as being significant for women, and that was a lack of awareness about beekeeping. So part of that comes down to women simply just not knowing about beekeeping because it isn't an activity that has a long history in Papua New Guinea. And the other part of it also comes down to those who have been involved in the sector, who are mostly male, kind of keeping the benefits of beekeeping to themselves. You know, they know it's a lucrative enterprise, and it can provide, you know, a consistent source of household income. So they do want to keep hold of that. There's a little bit of secrecy, I suppose, surrounding the sector as well. So my PhD research is really the next stage on from this project and is looking to identify strategies to engage more women in beekeeping for development, but specifically really looking at ways to support women's engagement in beekeeping in Papua New Guinea and Fiji. And so it really involves quite a multifaceted strategy. It's not just one, there's no one way to do that. You kind of have to build women's skills and capacity at the same time that you work within the current systems and structures to kind of eliminate social and cultural discrimination, which limits women's capacity to participate. You know, you really have to develop social networks around women, and really ensure that the sector is engaged in creating an inclusive environment for women. So we're exploring activities such as mentorship. We're really building capacity with in-country partners to be able to provide equitable beekeeping training. Really participatory training is what women asked for. And then also working to build women's skills in other areas. So looking at diversifying beekeeping income through value-added products, so making products from honey and beeswax like candles, lip balms, and other products. So we're really exploring quite a number of strategies to try and engage women in different parts of the beekeeping value chain. Thank you again to everyone for tuning in today. It's been an amazing experience to present to you all, even if it is online. Thank you to all of the organisers of the conference for pulling it all together for us. If you'd like more information, you can find my article on ResearchGate, and you can also follow Bees for Sustainable Livelihoods on our Facebook page. And yeah, we're always posting updates on our progress in country and what our beekeepers are up to as well. So thank you to everyone for tuning in tonight.